fans, this is Dolynny TV getting back after a weekend off in which the Edmonton Oilers, oh boy, my goodness, Saturday weren't so good, but Sunday was really good. So we'll take the good with the bad and obviously wait to see what the Oilers can do heading into this week's worth of hockey. Only a little lighter of a schedule this week, so that's not necessarily a bad thing. We'll take that for sure. But what I want to do is go back to Friday, go back to Saturday, go back to Sunday, and ask the question simply put. You've kind of evaluated Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The only player we haven't seen at the trade deadline acquisitions yet is Troy Stecher. Ask yourself this: are the Edmonton Oilers good enough to win the Stanley Cup in the year 2024? Well, that's going to be a loaded question, I think, for a lot of fans. It'll either be a yell about the goaltending, it'll be a yell about the defense, it'll be a this, that, or the other thing. And when it comes down to it, for me, looking at this logically as an Oilers fan, friends, is I've been wrong about this team a million times over. I've also been right about this team a million times over. And to be honest with you, I don't know which way this is going to play out, because the way the playoffs are formatted, especially with what we saw take place last year, it's really going to beg a question of, I guess, who's going to be the last man standing, right? And that's where you look last year. My biggest frustration with the Oilers in that series against Vegas is not the blown leads. It's not the poor goaltending from Stuart Skinner. It's not the whatever you want to say. My biggest frustration with the Oilers from that series against the Vegas Golden Knights is exactly the LTIR issue we talked about all trade deadline, right? The Vegas Golden Knights live in a make-believe cap system where they can acquire whoever they want because Mark Stone is going to go on the LTIR last week of February, first week of March before the trade deadline every single year. And the Vegas Golden Knights are going to go to the conference finals or the Stanley Cup finals every year, right? That's guaranteed. That's how it seems to work. Well, my biggest frustration with that is over the past few years, we've kind of gotten the narrative that Mark Stone is literally one injury away from being done. He's broken. Just break him and he'll be quit. Well, this year, right, we know that he's got a really serious injury to come back from. You got some guys guaranteeing that he'll be back game one of the playoffs. You got other guys saying, dude, there's no way he's back before July. I don't care. End of the day, you look back to last year, the Oilers had a chance in that first game. And if you watch the tape, they were cross-checking Stone in the back. They were pushing him along the boards. They were trying to break him. That was the big thing. The Oilers were trying to break Stone. They knew if they broke Stone, they likely would be able to break the Vegas Golden Knights and win that series. However, as game one wore on, that kind of started to fade away, right? The first half was really strong from memory serving. But as that game wore on, they kind of started going a little bit easier on them. Okay? Fine enough. Again, when you find a weakness in your opponent, you have to hammer down on it. And that's what the Florida Panthers did against the Boston Bruins. Those games were mania. They were absolute insanity. And as you watched, Florida just kind of replicated the same success throughout the playoffs. But by the time they got to the Cup final, they themselves were so beat up, so beat down, that the Vegas Golden Knights just rolled them. Right? Vegas, their toughest series was against the Oilers. Everybody has credited us with that at least. But again, the Oilers fell short of doing what they could have if they just would have committed. Instead, they let Mark Stone get through game one. Marchessault shows up game 2 and 3, and the series is done. So, right, this year, you look at what Florida did, you look at the position and the team that the Edmonton Oilers are, and you look at where we went last year with it, are we that team that is willing to go across the line? Are we that team that will break someone's back, hopefully metaphorically? I'm not saying go out there and literally break someone. That, again, we've seen that in the playoffs, and that is ugly, that's gross, and I don't want to see it. But again, you have to be willing to go across the line for one small moment every series to win a series and go and win the Stanley Cup. And again, right, I'm not saying that they had to break Mark Stone's back, but with a guy that was hurting coming into the playoffs, if you made it so bad on him that he could physically play, but he was playing at 10%, that series plays out much differently, right? Marchessault returns from injury, and really, did the Oilers even at all hit him at all series? I don't think I could even remember that. But you get where I'm going, right? Florida did everything possible against Boston to beat them, and then they rode that emotional high. For For the Oilers, when you ask the question, are they good enough? Did they do enough? Will they win the Stanley Cup in the year 2024? I look at it with one simple, exactly where I've led you to, is are they willing to do everything necessary to win a Stanley Cup? Are they willing to do anything to win a Stanley Cup? Because you know Vegas is, right? Vegas will LTIR this guy, they'll do this, they'll trade that guy. Oh man, you've been here since the start of the franchise. Bye-bye, we're going to win the Stanley Cup. We don't need you, right? Like, they will do anything possible to win the Stanley Cup. And they have done it again by loading up Tomas Hertl to this hockey team in Vegas. So, when it comes down to it, ask yourself this. And I'm a firm believer the Oilers, Connor McDavid, can do anything he wants. But will he? Will they? Right? That's the big question. You ask yourself, are the Oilers willing to do anything it takes to win the Stanley Cup? And if the answer is no, then your likely answer on the Oilers winning the Stanley Cup, any other questions, concerns you had aside, is no. However, if you think the Oilers this year, after being punted by Colorado in a sweep in the third round, and then the Oilers after blowing it game in, game out against Vegas, if they've learned the lessons and take a playbook like everybody else in the NHL playoffs this year will, from what Florida did against Boston, I guarantee you that is going to be a case study everybody uses on how to win a playoff series when you might not possibly be the favorite in it, right? Is you're going to watch this playoffs be the most last man standing playoffs we've seen in a while, right? You talk about the old school NHL playoff series we used to have. We're about to see that again here in 2024. This ain't no figure skating anymore. This is going to be absolutely war on ice. You look at the teams that are in the conversation. You look at the teams that are guaranteed to make the playoffs. It really is going to come down to the last man standing. Florida, almost there, but they had beaten themselves up so bad getting there that they just didn't have that final hump to get through. And Vegas, right, they really didn't get pushed through the West as bad as they should have. The Oilers had a chance to do it and didn't. And I will tell you, if the Oilers had done that, likely find a way to win the Stanley Cup. But now we're talking about 2024, and you have to go back and repeat the same questions. Do the Oilers finally learn the answers this year and do anything it takes to go win the Stanley Cup? That is where we're going to find ourselves, and that is when I ask myself, did the Oilers do enough? Have they done enough? Will they do enough? Again, it comes down to, are they willing to do anything? Because if no, then probably not, right? I mean, yeah, sure. Connor McDavid could go supernova, score, play 23 playoff games, let's say. He could go supernova and score 68 points in the playoffs and win us the Stanley Cup himself. Connor McDavid is capable of that. We know. I don't even have to question that. The likelihood of that happening, the likelihood of any team allowing a guy having that good of a playoffs, again, Florida, anybody in the East, to win the Stanley Cup instead of even make it through game one, unlikely, right? If you see a guy coming in with 50 points through the first 19 games of the playoffs, I am sure every single player in the other dressing room is going to be sticks up above their head just hunting, right? I mean, it is hockey at the end of the day, and when you get that close to winning, the rationale starts going out the window. So ask yourself that, right? If the Oilers are willing to do anything, they likely win the Stanley Cup. Friends, I'm Tyson, this is Dolynny TV. Thanks for being aboard this afternoon. I'll have a little bit more for you later today, but I am up on out of here.